chosen one. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because right now, in the season where your memories have grown heavy, God is turning on the light and showing you what nobody ever bothered to explain. Let me take you back to those childhood nights, those hours you barely talk about. The ones that etched themselves into your bones, the ones that stole your breath at 3 a.m. I'm about to show you something that will shift your entire view of where you've come from. There were 7 nightmares, not just dreams, not just random flickers in the dark, but actual prophecies coded in fear, sown as warnings, pulsing as calls out of time. First, let me tell you about that restless night when the shadows on your wall began to move. You remember it, the feeling that something was watching you, but not with human eyes. You felt exposed, raw, like your very soul was under a microscope. That wasn't just fear. That was the first sign. The nightmare of being seen, hunted, unable to hide. That was a prophecy for the time when you'd carry a calling that made you visible to enemies and invisible to friends. Even now, as you walk through your life, there are seasons where you feel eyes on you, tongues wagging behind closed doors. Suddenly, overnight, you realize you're in the spotlight, but not for applause. In that childhood moment, God was telling you, those who are called out are watched. They are misunderstood. You were being warned early. Don't expect to be invisible if you're chosen. You tried hiding, covering yourself with blankets, trying not to move, whispering prayers through chattering teeth. But the feeling wouldn't lift. That's because hiding isn't protection for the marked. The marked must learn to walk straight through the gaze of giants and live. This first nightmare was the first prophecy. You would never live a hidden life because destiny doesn't let you settle for shadows. Now let me walk you into the second nightmare. A place where your house, the only place you thought was safe, started to fall apart around you. You saw cracks appear in the ceilings, doorways collapse, parents yelling, storms blowing through open windows. You woke shaking, heart pounding, sure the roof was going to come down on you. This was no random terror. It was prophecy. Long before your grown heart ever ran up against family-breaking betrayals or foundations shaking, you were warned. That shaking in the spiritual back then was a forecast of real storms coming. You woke your parents, begged them to check the house, but the structure always looked fine in the daylight. Why did the nightmare persist? Because it was telling you earthquake and uprooting would come. And now, looking back, you know how many times you watched your support system buckle. Friendships ended, family members left, money gone, noisy silence. That old nightmare was an invitation not to anchor your soul in brick and mortar or what felt secure. It was prophecy. Only what's built on the bedrock of calling survives the shaking. Let me explain this third prophetic nightmare, running from something that never showed its face. Just the sound of heavy footsteps behind you, faster than you thought you could move. Every time, just as you were about to be caught, you'd wake, heart in your throat, feet tangled in sheets. Here's what was happening. You weren't being chased by an ordinary enemy. God was warning you of a life where opposition would always move faster than you thought you could run. Commitments you couldn't keep up with, expectations you could never meet, demands that always outnumbered hours in the day. You tried to rest, to slow your mind, but you spent years still running in the daylight, working to please, hustling so they wouldn't abandon you, trying to get ahead of the loss. The nightmare was never about catching you. It was about teaching you endurance. You would pivot, adapt, change jobs, move cities, cut toxic ties, and yet something always came chasing. Hear me. The prophecy in that nightmare was preparation for living with persistent pursuit, but also a promise because you always woke up before it could touch you. All those years, the hand of God wouldn't let destruction reach you. You endure, but you are not overtaken. Here's what you need to see about the fourth nightmare. Being lost in a crowd, voices swirling, faces turning into masks, everyone speaking a language you don't understand. The isolation, even while surrounded, the confusion, the panic. God was showing you that there would come a season when you'd stand among many but belong to none. That feeling of not fitting, being surrounded but unseen. The ache of being the outcast even when sharing a table. This was the prophecy embedded in your childhood night terrors. Later in life, the rooms filled, but you felt emptier than ever. Colleagues laughed but didn't really hear you. Friends texted but you weren't invited. Even family started to feel foreign. You tried to learn the dialect of every group. You mirrored the smiles, studied what others seemed to want, but the nightmare in your chest wouldn't dissipate. That was God teaching you early that your uniqueness would never let you blend in. You were never meant to. The horror of isolation was just the prophecy that those set apart don't get the comfort of the crowd. Let me break this down for you. The fifth nightmare, the one where your voice wouldn't work, where you'd open your mouth to shout and nothing would come out, where you'd scream for help, but all that emerged was silence. You woke, clawing at your throat, sweat slick, sure you'd lost the ability to speak. Prophecy. Many times since then, you've reached to express the truth, to defend yourself, to testify. But doors were slammed, calls unanswered, your words ignored. Letters unread, emails left hanging, answers that never came. That childhood terror was only the beginning of battles where your voice was muzzled. But even now, listen, God is breaking open throats that have been blocked for years. That nightmare was a preview, not a pronouncement. Prophecy, not destiny. Your silence was temporary, and now your voice is rising, carrying the thunder of a survivor who outlasted gag orders. Here's the sixth prophetic nightmare. Being transformed into something unrecognizable. Looking in a mirror and seeing a stranger, body morphing, face rearranged. Panic so real you woke gasping, checking your hands in the dark, feeling your own skin to be sure you were still you. That terror wasn't random, it was prophecy that your identity would be threatened. Over and over, you would enter places where you had to camouflage to survive, where you'd question your calling, your worth, your sanity. The world would call you names that burned, family would try to mold you, culture would push you to erase yourself. You tried for years to fit their shapes, but every time you woke in the spiritual realm, you knew something was wrong. The truth is, God has been fighting for your authentic identity since you were a child. The prophecy wasn't that you'd lose yourself, but that the battle would rage until you chose to stand in your original form. And now, right now, you're doing just that. Now listen to this seventh and final nightmare and see it for what it always was. The recurring vision of loved ones vanishing, of rooms suddenly empty, your hand reaching out and finding no one, desperate to pull people back who'd already faded beyond reach. It haunted you for years. This wasn't just grief training, this was prophecy. You would know loss. You would lose people to distance, to indifference, to time itself. The prophecy was so you'd be ready, not broken by loss, but fortified. Every vanishing act you survived was proof that you could keep loving, keep living, keep giving, even when your arms ached for what was gone. You tried to hold tighter, begged people to stay, bargained, pleasing, appeasing, but they still slipped away. Now you understand. God emptied rooms you never would have left on your own so he could fill your life with newness no one else was brave enough to imagine. Listen, chosen one. This morning is different. No more confusion about those childhood visitations. No more shame for the scars carried from bedsheets and darkness. The prophecies hidden in the night have matured. What broke you once is now what launches you forward. Every shadow became a map. Every shaking taught you where to build. Every pursuit sharpened your endurance. The crowd's confusion proved you couldn't be ordinary. Silence became the prelude to your roar. The loss carved out new spaces for glory. They thought the nightmares would ruin you, but everyone birthed a power. They thought you would break under isolation, but heaven was making you distinct. They wanted your voice silenced, but the prophecy gave you thunder. They tried to erase your identity, but you emerged unshakable. They hoped loss would shrink your life, but it made you infinite. 7 prophecies spoken in torment, now completed in glory. Suddenly, overnight, now. Let me take you deeper now, chosen one, because just as those childhood prophecies were planted in fear, what's coming next is a life harvested in power, but only because you survived the reversal, only because you endured the upside down, the long middle where nothing felt like a promise and everything felt like punishment. You know what I'm talking about. That season where the same nightmares that once warned you started to feel like sentences against you. You began to wonder if you'd been marked not for greatness but for trouble. And the whispers from your own mind in the dark said maybe you're irreparably different. Maybe these are not prophecies, but curses you'll never break. The enemy saw those seed memories, studied them, tried to twist them, tried to label you broken, dysfunctional, doomed to fear the dark for the rest of your days. But let me tell you exactly what God was plotting while the world was calling you crushed. There was a shifting, a holy reversal happening in the unseen while you sat on the edge of your bed staring at the wall, tracing the old cracks, remembering the terror. Let me show you what reversal looks like when heaven decides your nights of trembling have fulfilled their purpose. The eyes that once scrutinized you with suspicion now start to see what is untouchable about you. The spotlight that exposed your vulnerability now reveals the light no shadow can snuff out. You notice something you never expected. The ones who watch to see you fall have to watch you rise. Suddenly, they find themselves asking for your help, seeking your advice, standing in the blast radius of your glow. The cracks in your foundation that once seemed like reasons to evacuate now expose the gold seams of mercy running through your life. Proof that what shook you did not bury you, but made a testimony out of your survival. They try to shake you with fresh gossip, throw new storms at you, hoping to trigger your past panic, but what broke you before only makes you stand surer now. The nightmares that once kept you up now make you unshaken in situations that would have sunk anybody else. And let me take you into a deeper reversal, the one that hits when you realize the chase has changed direction. All those nights you ran in fear, you're not the prey now. You have become the pursuer. Instead of running, you are advancing. Instead of fleeing, you are overtaking. Every dream that told you destruction was on your heels now flips in the spirit. Now blessing follows you, hunts you down, overtakes you in places you didn't even expect favor. You sit in the meeting you felt unqualified for, and the opportunity lands in your lap. The thing you ran from, responsibility, authority, ownership, now runs after you, and every step you tried to outrun is now ground you take back in dominion. People who once thought you too slow, too late, too haunted, now they watch doors open to you that won't budge for anyone else. Let me show you the reversal of isolation. What was once loneliness, feeling like an alien in every room, now becomes divine separation. You find yourself alone again, but it's not rejection now, it's selection. You're set apart, not cast aside. You realize God preserved you from contamination, kept you from blending with the crowd so He could build something unique in you that couldn't survive anywhere else. Now what felt like exile becomes the secret place you're sent from. You don't crowd your schedule with any old company anymore. Instead, true connections begin to form around your authenticity, relationships that resonate with who you are, not who you had to pretend to be just to be seen. People are drawn to the real, the raw, the residue of glory in your scars. The friends who left, the family that became strangers, it stings, it aches, but it makes room for partners in destiny, for voices that water your gift. for alliances of purpose. Now, when you walk into a room, it isn't about being accepted or invisible. It's about carrying presence and setting the temperature. Let me take you through the reversal of silence. That childhood terror where you had no voice becomes the very launching pad for your commission now. You walk through doors that once slammed in your face, and your words, scarred and trembling at first, start to set captives free. You open your mouth and the thunder of what nearly drowned you shakes the room. The same people who dismissed you, discredited you, talked over you, now they turn their heads when you speak. Some of them come to you for counsel, for insight, for answers they could never find on their own. Something shifted. Your silence carried a charge, a power the enemy could not predict. Now, right now, your testimony is the sword cutting chains in others. The voice stolen in nightmares became the authority you use to unlock others. Those who tried to suffocate your fire are forced to watch as your words spark wildfires of courage and truth nobody can put out. Now let's go even deeper. Identity, once fractured and distorted, now marches with clarity. That old nightmare where you couldn't recognize your own reflection has become an altar for new self-recognition. What others tried to rename, diminish, and erase, you have reclaimed and crowned. The world wanted you to fit the label, shrink to the mold, deny the inheritance. But now your distinctness draws favor. Your standalone strength attracts solutions. You help others find themselves. As you walk in wholeness, you give others permission to stop camouflaging, to stop hiding, to come out in full force. What once disoriented you now sets you apart as a guide for those still lost in the fog. The accusers who said you'd turn out just like your wounds have to stand back and marvel at the masterpiece God completed without their permission. Let me press in. Loss that hollowed you out is now the very place where heaven multiplies. You've wept over rooms emptied by abandonment. You've mourned losses that felt senseless. You've run out of ways to explain why everyone keeps leaving. But something holy has filled the vacant spaces. New oil, new joy, new divine appointments walk through the doors others slammed shut. You expected emptiness, but now your cup runs over in unexpected ways. Where you had to make peace with being alone, you now find companionship that sweeps in unstoppably, divinely timed. The losses that once echoed with accusation, proof you were unworthy, now ring out as evidence that what is gone made room for what is coming. Rooms too small for your next level had to be cleared. Right now, your capacity is enlarging. Right now, your hands are open for the gifts you never knew to pray for. Let me take you into one final deep night scene, one last return to 3 a.m., and show you how reversal births vindication. You're lying there, nerves humming, the old dread trying to creep in. The room is quiet, the world asleep, but your mind is racing. Old doubts, memories, regrets trying to crowd out hope. You try the old remedies, scrolling your feed, whispers of prayer, checking your door, folding and refolding the sheets. You sit up, pace the floor, try to reason your way out, but it's useless. You take a breath, press your hand over your heart, and suddenly you realize the old terror has lost its power. The panic is still in the room, but it can't touch you now. The prophecy is burning brighter than the fear. You speak out loud, not to beg, but to declare. You start to decree, no more torment, this space is holy. This mind belongs to destiny, not dread. Something lifts, something breaks, and dawn comes not as relief but as revelation. The sun rises on a new kind of morning, the beginning of vindication that nobody can argue. You slept, not because you were exhausted, but because you are at peace in your skin. Now, chosen one, as vindication settles like oil over every wound, you hear the commission rise, the voice of heaven assigning, not just comforting. You're not just healed to sit in the sun, not just vindicated to bask in the wonder. You are sent out, Sent wounded but wise, battle-worn but bold. Every nightmare trained you for a territory, every terror authored your authority. Suddenly, people come out of hiding, drawn by the trail your story leaves behind. They watch you walk, and hope reignites in their faces. If you could survive, if you could reverse the curse, maybe they can too. Commission grabs you by the shoulders and sends you out. You speak into dry places, you call out identities crushed by the crowd. You guide the lost back home. You set tables in empty rooms. Where you were watched, now you hold the gaze of nations. Where you were uprooted, now you plant others in stability. Where you ran, now you lead. Where you felt alone, now you gather those exiled. Where you were silenced, now you shatter strongholds with your words. Where you were distorted, now you mirror glory. Where you lost, now you multiply. They hoped your terror would silence you, but your decree is what shakes the world now. They wanted you marked by the night, but you blaze with a dawn they cannot dim. They thought you'd never escape, but you're bringing whole nations out with you. They set traps in the dark, but your steps are ordered in light. They said you'd wander lost forever, but you've become a waypoint for pilgrims fighting their own nightmares. 7 nightmares, 7 prophecies, 7 reversals, and now, restoration without limit, vindication without shame, commission without delay. You bear the evidence, you carry the oil. The verdict is settled. Heaven remembers the nights you survived, and now the day belongs to you. Suddenly, overnight now, vindication, reversal, release, and commission all at once. Chosen one, let me pull you further into this holy overturning, because the arc isn't done. Reversal is rolling like thunder through the whole of your story, not just finishing one battle, but rewriting the very laws that governed your nights. This is the hour when reversal isn't just a moment of relief, but becomes a way of living. You are walking proof that the old script, the one the enemy tried to tattoo onto your skin, has been ripped up, line after cursed line. You don't just survive now. You subvert, you disrupt, you become the contradiction that no one can explain. Let me take you right to the heart of this reversal, because someone needs to hear what's happening behind the doors closed in your face, in the back rooms where your name used to be spoken with scoffing and suspicion. Now let me show you what's being said. Right now, while others measure you by your history, heaven is recalculating you by your destiny. All those labels they tried to wrap around you, broken, unreliable, invisible, too scarred to ever stand tall, are dissolving. In boardrooms, in church pews, in family gatherings where you were the whispered concern. Now your name surfaces as the answer, as hope, as a solution they never saw coming. The rejected one, the overlooked, the scapegoat. Your story becomes their instruction manual. Your trial becomes the blueprint. People once embarrassed to be associated with you now quietly angle for your presence, your insight, even your kindness. This is the start of vindication, but it isn't a petty parade. You don't gloat. You don't need revenge. Your victory is not for strutting revenge, but the establishing of justice in the unseen realm. Let me tell you, this kind of vindication is so deep it closes the wound for good. The shame that followed you out of childhood nightmares is severed. The heaviness you carried in your bones is lifted, not just for a day, but permanently. Vindication is not a stage. It's the climate you live in now. Let me break open specifics for you. Vindication in money, in relationships, in the glass places where your reputation lived and died by rumor. The ones who heard stories about your fragility now ask you how you keep it together under all this pressure. Contracts that once slipped through your fingers, interviews that felt like interrogations, loans denied and explanations ignored. Suddenly, the gatekeepers soften. Remember the day you opened your bank app and flinched, waiting for another overdraft notice, but instead saw deposits you had no way of expecting? That was not luck, but the slow turning of restitution in the spiritual realm to visible evidence. Relationships you lost to misunderstanding. God is bringing clarity and reconciliation where it's healthy, but even more, He's giving you the joy of meeting new people who see you fresh, without baggage. The doors that slammed in your face are now being opened by the very hands that once shut them. But you walk through them with humility, not pride. Vindication isn't just a clearing of your name, it's the reintroduction of the real you to the world. And no lie can outlast this unveiling. Let me tell you what's happening in places you can't see. There are meetings right now, businesses remembering your work ethic, ministries replaying your prayers, family members finally pausing long enough to see they misjudged your silence. Those who benefited from your absence now feel the loss acutely. The gap you left stings, and suddenly they recognize the grace you carried all along. But you don't circle back for approval, you don't beg for acceptance. The anointing has moved. You are free. Vindication means standing where accusations once stood and finding only peace. Old emails get answered with apologies. People send texts confessing regret, expressing gratitude. Some even have the humility to say they were wrong. You don't seek these things, but God arranges them. Sometimes just so your heart is released from bitterness for good. Here's the twist. Vindication isn't just where the reversal ends. It's the launch pad for the commission you always carried but never had language for. The childhood nightmares didn't just leave you with a limp and a story. They built in you the backbone to walk where others falter, the eyes to see what others ignore, the courage to do what others fear. Chosen one, now is the time of sending. Let me bring you into this commission, not as a burden, but as a torch passed into your hands. The same streets you feared, the rooms where your knees shook, the beds where you counted down hours to morning, these become your territory. You go back, not to beg, but to set free. You speak in meetings and the air shifts. You stand at hospital beds and hope arises. You have hard conversations in estranged families and walls begin to crack. You notice people who remind you of your old fear, hesitant, haunted, silent in crowds. And you don't turn away. You move toward them with the gentleness of someone who's been there. Your scars have instructions in them. What terrified you as a child becomes the navigational chart for others caught in perpetual night. Let me show you the details of this new commission. Finances multiply, but you aren't greedy. You give strategically. You sense when a blessing is meant to flow through you and you don't dam up the river. Jobs come toward you. You're not frantically applying, you're discerning your assignment. Relationships become smoother, lighter. You no longer chase after the love that always needed proof. Those drawn into your orbit come for something deeper, something different. Your health, once shaken by anxiety, strengthens as inner peace becomes your portion. Your rest is different now. Nights that once echoed with dread now pulse with dreams, with strategy, with assurance. Your capacity to endure the next hard thing isn't just grit, it's grace. Spiritually, the torment that followed you loses your scent. The enemy can't find the old triggers. You no longer waste energy on what you've outgrown. Your prayers aren't pleading for survival. They are declarations from the seat of authority, pulling others from disaster as you've been pulled. You mentor those who have no language for their pain. You comfort those gasping at 3 a.m. because you know the topography of terror and the map out. The stage changes. Sometimes you lead quietly, sometimes publicly, sometimes just with a look that settles a storm in a desperate heart. Heaven trusts you with secrets, dreams, businesses, missions, invisibles who need lifting up. You step naturally into rooms that once triggered panic. Now you are the calm, the gravity holding it all together. Let me prophesy this over you. You will begin to hear testimonies from young and old who say, "I watched you survive. That gave me courage not to give up." People who have no language for God will start to notice there is something about you, something not easily shaken, something honest, something that smells like victory but won honestly. Your old agony becomes new authority. You are commissioned to carry a torch into every place the night once ruled you, not with arrogance, but with a humility that draws the trembling and teaches the terrified how to stand. And now, with nothing left to prove, it is time for the closing decree. Let my words settle in your spirit. Let them rise in you every time doubt knocks or shadows lengthen. They tried to make your childhood fear your future, but heaven transformed it into fuel for nations. They plotted to hold you in cycles of dread, but you break cycles and establish lines of blessing. They insisted your name would always be whispered in worry, but now it is shouted in celebration. They bet on your silence, but your song shakes gates open. They wanted you haunted by emptiness, but you carry rooms full of restoration. They scheduled your life for defeat, but the timetable flipped. Victory is ahead, and the past can't catch up. They wanted you trapped in the margins, but the center of the story now holds your mark. They hoped nightmares would keep you small, but your commission is wide and your territory vast. They thought midnight would have the last word in your life, but dawn has already broken. 7 prophecies, 7 reversals, infinite vindication. Commissioned in fire, sent in peace, crowned in light. Suddenly in this hour, overnight through every lonely watch, even now as you read, destiny is irreversible, heaven's decree is final. You are the evidence. You are the reversal. You are the reason morning always comes. Let me tell you, chosen one, the Spirit won't let you stop here. Not at this door, not at this threshold between what hurt you and what heals you forever. Let me show you how reversal is more than a one-time shift. It's a climate, a momentum, something that grows taller the longer you walk it out. There are places inside you that still flinch at review, muscles built on bracing for the next nightfall, because you lived so long with the script that said, "You'll never get past this." But hear me with your spirit. Reversal is rewriting your instincts, changing how your hands reach, how your eyes scan a room, how your heart responds to news that would have broken you last year. Reversal is not an event, but a new current under your feet. Every single day you wake up and breathe, you add distance between you and that old verdict, distance and daylight. Suddenly, the territory you claimed at sunrise stretches further than your eye could see. Right now, even behind your back, there's a quiet storm of reversal moving through what once hemmed you in. The places that were locked to your voice, boardrooms, family circles, decision tables, are ringing with questions your wisdom answers. People who once scoffed now use your name as a reference, a benchmark for resilience. A whispered hope that maybe their own darkness isn't the finale after all. The reversal is happening in places you have not even set foot. They are planning projects with you in mind, curating positions that fit the contours of your scars turned signature. Divine reversal does not apologize to anyone who misunderstood you in your valley. Instead, it multiplies your influence and establishes your seat. Not out of pity, but because heaven knows what endurance tastes like, and only those who walked through flame can steward this kind of favor. If you could see the books written in the unseen right now, you'd see chapters being amended, footnotes of your supposed limitations now crossed out, replaced with the ink of miracles that bear your initials. There are people currently telling your story, not as tragedy, but as blueprint. They study your ways, how you keep showing up, how your eyes carry the history of every night you survived, how your yes carries a weight the untested cannot mimic. What should have been a record of your suffering is now the reference text for their next hope. Reversal, visible and hidden, dismantles the last of the shame. You feel it as you walk through ordinary days. Less apology, more authority, breath that comes easier, a lightness in your bones that baffles those used to seeing you bowed down. Let me paint this for you. Vindication is drawing lines where there used to be smudges. Not just cleaning up your past, but marking off new boundaries where nothing unclean can trespass again. The spaces you once tiptoed through, afraid of stirring up old accusations, now ring with your laughter, your presence taken for granted, your legacy starting to emerge from the ashes. What was once the room of your diminishment is now the stage for your declaration. There are people living freer because your name cleared the way. They heard about the way you bounced back after loss, how you handled betrayal without letting it remake your character, how you looked at closed doors and made a window out of your own resolve. Vindication is visible now in the way you carry yourself, unafraid of their remembering, unbothered by gossip, finding joy in the simple act of standing upright in the sight of God and men. You carry no grudge. This is not about returning pain for pain, but about surpassing it, rising above it. Anyone can get even, only the chosen rise beyond. Sometimes vindication looks like honor, but sometimes it looks like indifference to slights, a true freedom that cannot be bought by anyone's opinion. Vindication has no need to parade, no thirst for applause. It manifests in the quietly confident way you walk into a room. Nothing to hide, nothing to fear, nothing to prove. Those who slandered your name now find their own circles shrinking, while doors open for you with no effort on your part. Your reputation, once wrapped in rumors, is untangled day by day, not by your campaigning, but by your constancy, your refusal to disappear. Let me break this commission open for you, because heaven never stops at vindication. The wounds you touch, the faces you remember, weary, hopeful, hungry for relief, these become your field, your reason, your route. Every nightmare was a map. You are now sent to rescue those stuck in cycles you escaped. The commission starts as a whisper, but it grows. You survived for more than yourself. That's why the favor is coming, because you will not hoard it. That's why the platforms broaden, because you speak truth, not just comfort. Some you will guide quietly, anchoring them with your story alone. Others you'll fight for publicly. Your credibility is their doorway. You show up where the old you would have hidden. You answer calls that once would have triggered flashbacks. You face down the systems that profit off the imprisoned and the forgotten, because your deliverance must multiply. Commission means your life gets big, not ego, not applause, but reach. The small places no longer contain you. You get invitations you know are setups for kingdom history. Business deals unfold where your integrity, tested in hidden places, becomes the currency they need most. Students ask how you survived. Strangers come out of nowhere, sharing stories only you know how to listen to. You become safe harbor, a living rebuke to the lie that nightmares have the last word. Your story becomes code for hope, shorthand for surviving what should have killed you. Gifts that lay dormant under the soil of anxiety push through and start feeding others. In the spirit, your prayers change. They sound like authority, not desperation. You bless neighborhoods that once rejected you. You walk in and the spiritual weather changes. Depression lifts, heaviness cracks. Strategies for breakthrough come easy. People are drawn in without knowing why. What you learned at 3 a.m. becomes survival tactics for a crowd of people who have hit midnight and think it lasts forever. You are the difference for thousands who will never know your childhood anguish but will inherit your victory. And let me be plain, commission is costly. It means revisiting scenes of pain because others are still trapped there. You see a child wide-eyed hiding behind a parent's legs, and you know that look. You offer more than a smile. You plant courage with your presence alone. You take calls in the middle of your day because you know exactly what panic feels like. You pray for colleagues who didn't believe before but now reach for the one who never let go of the light. Sometimes commission is a crowd. Sometimes it's just one hand gripped tight in the middle of the storm. Nothing is wasted now. Even your sorrow gets spent on miracles. Every bitterness broken down into bread that feeds someone else's desperate hunger. Let me move you toward the closing because the urgency is mounting. This reversal is not theoretical. It is reordering people's lives around you right now. Vindication is rewriting esteem in places you never even thought were watching. Commission is commissioning you daily. Sent, spent, renewed, refilled. The story never stops at your last hallelujah. Heaven is always dreaming bigger. So hear this as your decree. Let it thunder down every corridor where old fear lingers. Let it be the final word over every unfinished sentence the enemy left in your childhood bed. They wanted you stuck in yesterday's dark, but dawn keeps outrunning the night on your behalf. They tried to silence you with shame, but your story is an anthem echoing across generations. They wished you would crouch unnoticed, but your name is being called in places you've never walked. They planted dread, but your harvest is hope for nations. They staked their plans on seeing you fail, but you build what outlives their memory. They called you broken, but heaven branded you breakthrough. They closed their doors, but heaven keeps opening windows your size. They thought you'd never leave the place of nightmares, but you lead others out one by one by one. They thought your pain would be terminal, but it became contagious courage. All the lies, all the verdicts, all the smallness dissolved in the flood of vindication. Suddenly, overnight and even now, every curse reversed, every orphaned place adopted by glory, every tear watered into legacy. Night was supposed to be the end of your story, but the morning keeps finding you, shining brighter, wider, farther. You are the living reversal. You are the echo of restoration. You are the commission written into skin and bone. Chosen, sent, unstoppable. Dawn after dawn after dawn, always.